Hey folks, and welcome to another episode of Too Long for Twitter here on the Tisbury 33 Games channel. I am Cody Schauf, and today we are talking about what have the Red Sox done so far? What has their offseason looked like so far? Start very beginning with firing Chaim Bloom. Now, people either loved Chaim Bloom or hated Chaim Bloom. I think I fell into the camp where I could see Chaim's vision and I trusted it. It was methodical. It was at sometimes, especially being a Red Sox fan forever and knowing what comes with the Red Sox, it seemed a little out of left field that you would hire someone who, didn't have really the balls to make a huge move. The first move he made was the biggest move in Red Sox history. And then after that, they kind of let him settle in. And really, I think for Chaim's struggles, if you're in the camp of Chaim wasn't good or this or that, I think most of that blame falls on ownership, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But again, for the most part, I think Chaim Bloom did what he was brought in to do, which was rebuild the farm system. I think the idea that you were also going to stay competitive and improve the major league team while doing what he did with the minor leagues, I think maybe wasn't a lie, but definitely is almost impossible, virtually impossible to do what was asked of him. He did all he could. They move off of Chaim Bloom because ownership, for what it seemed like was, okay, they went through 4 years of a rough patch. They are ready to spend. They're ready to go back and contend and be the Red Sox again. And they didn't think he was the guy. I think they brought him in to kind of give them that foundation, and they're going to bring someone in that could make those explosive moves. They search high and low. No one wants to come to this job until they get Craig Breslow. So now we have our foundation of how the offseason is going to be. Ownership comes out and say they're ready to go, and I quote, full throttle, unquote. And this is what they've done so far. So the first big move, Craig Breslow did trade Alex Verdugo to the Yankees for some depth pitching. Obviously, everyone loves Dick Fitz and the other pitchers that we got from the Yankees. Again, it's mostly depth. They're not going to be world breakers. Hopefully they are, but most likely they won't be. And just depth of the pitching, fine. Basically, then about a couple days later, they trade some other depth pitching for Tyler O'Neill. And now, if you look at these two moves as one move, basically swapping Verdugo and your pitchers for the pitchers you give up in O'Neill, you win that trade in a vacuum, right? I think the pitchers that we got have more upside than the pitchers that we let go. And Verdugo and O'Neill are definitely very different. Verdugo, more of a contact bat, has showed he's been inconsistent. Obviously, there was a clubhouse thing with him showing up not on time. He was benched a couple times during the season, and we've seen through his media appearances since being a member of the Yankees, he's not been shy on being upset with Alex Cora and the Red Sox for how those things were handled, and for what it seemed like Cora and the Red Sox were ready to move on from him as well. So in a vacuum, getting that out of the clubhouse is a good move. Obviously, like Alex Verdugo, he had some big moments. He didn't turn out to be the player we thought he was going to be, especially when you trade for a Mookie Betts. But I'm not going to say his time in Boston was a failure. He was a fan favorite. He was energetic. He was wily. Something that Boston fans can, latch onto. Tyler O'Neill has been hurt, and that's another one of those signings we saw Chaim Bloom do all the time. Guys who, if they don't get hurt, they'll be great. O'Neill, I think, offers higher upside than Verdugo, but I think Verdugo offers a higher floor. So with all of the outfield options, I don't hate taking a swing on the upside of a good defender, a power bat speed guy, like literally a power speed demon, just like what you make in MLB The Show. Whether he cut the strikeouts down. When he had a good year, I think in 2021 or 2020, he hit like 280 with like 30 plus home runs. He's a freak guy. He had some of those clubhouse issues with St. Louis, not running out ground balls, really rubbed his manager the wrong way, things like that. That happened very early in the season, and much like the Red Sox, the Cardinals had a surplus of outfielding depth. So overall, those two moves, if you make them basically one move, I think the Red Sox improved marginally, but improved. You got Cooper Criswell, who was just a DFA'd reliever that you hope that Andrew Bailey, the new pitching coach, another addition in the offseason, which I liked, and Craig Breslow, who is renowned for his work with the Cubs and their minor league systems and relievers and such, that they can make something out of something there. Lucas Giolito, you get him for 2 years, basically 2 years. If he does really, really well, he doesn't opt out of this year. I don't hate this move. However, if this is the big move, then you did something wrong. I think Lucas Giolito, if you look at his just plain bare bone numbers, the ERA doesn't look great. Home runs don't look great. Earned runs don't look great. I think since 2018, his first full season, he's given up the third most earned runs and the second most home runs in the league in that span. He had a couple of good years and then they was sandwiched between a couple of bad ones. But I think you look at the underlying numbers, the advanced metrics, again, the Andrew Baileys and the Craig Breslows working with him all the time. If he can recapture that magic, I think he can be a solid number 3 for the Red Sox. They still need a number 1 and a number 2, especially after they trade Chris Sale in a bombshell move that happened yesterday. Took a lot of people by surprise. You never think that Chris Sale is going to be up for grabs, but this is actually, I think, a big win for the Red Sox. You get Vaughn Grissom. You do basically pay 2/3 of Chris Sale's contract for this year, or a little bit more than half. I think $17 million out of 30 to send him to Atlanta. Atlanta gets another arm. Obviously, Vaughn Grissom, there was not room for him with all of their players who are in the infield who are locked up for $13.50 an hour over the next 10 years with the Braves deals. But he is going to be our second baseman. It seems like everything points that way. You have 6 years of team control. He's a guy who was with the bat when he came up in the major leagues last year, or 2 seasons ago now. Struggled a little bit. The defense has been, is he going to be an infielder? Can you move him to the outfield? Hopefully he finds second base as a good home, because we don't need him in the outfield. But if the bat can be consistent and it can find what it should be by what scouts say it could be, I think you get a really solid right-handed bat at second base, and I think that is one of those items on the checklist that you'll be able to check off. So that's the moves that have been made so far. What has not happened? What was the offer for Yoshinobu Yamamoto? That's a guy that I think every single team in the major league should have went and pursued. The Red Sox are rumored to be in that top 5, that top 7. We know that the Yankees offered over $300 million. We know obviously the Dodgers, 12 years, $325. We know the Mets gave the same offer, and I'm okay if you don't get him. Like, that's, again, you're the Boston Red Sox. You haven't been good. If you're going after top free agents, you have to overpay a little bit. If you went in there and gave at least a $300 million contract to the guy, and he said, no, I don't want it, at least if you were competitive in that area, then fine. But not being competitive and not trying for this guy is malpractice. And that is going to be a tough pill to swallow. I have not seen anything that suggests that he just didn't want to come to Boston and didn't let us offer. I have not seen anything that we did offer. I have not seen anything that we didn't offer. I don't know what the contract details would be. I don't know. Red Sox have been tight-lipped pretty much over the last few months and over the last few years. So that still stands. I would be, and I think every Red Sox fan should be pissed off if the report comes out that they didn't offer Yamamoto anything competitive. What's going on with the other free agent pitchers? Obviously, Aaron Nola went off the board pretty early. Shohei went off the board. Once Shohei went off the board, then things started moving a little bit. The Cardinals went off. They got some of those C-tier, D-tier guys, but there's still a good amount of free agents. Obviously, Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell are the two that now one of those guys is a must-get for you now. I would probably lean Montgomery. I just think that Snell, while he has a better upside and definitely is at the peak of his game better than Montgomery, I think Montgomery is just a solid, gets you 180 innings and Snell rarely goes in past the 6th inning. Sometimes rarely past the 5th inning when she's electric when he does. But I think for what we've seen over this bullpen over the last few years, they have been taxed. And you see that it starts out great, and then towards the middle to end of the year, things start to falter off. Teoscar Hernandez, another guy they're rumored to go get. Does he fit? I don't know. I think that they need the right-handed power bat, and they're certainly a right-handed power bat in the outfield, and that's the one thing. If you want to use Yoshida more as a DH, then you'd have to play the fields, and then you have a whole bunch of different fielders out there. Duran, Rafaela, Abreu, Yoshida also in the mix. You just traded for O'Neill, who was a right-handed power bat. It's interesting. And again, I will say this, and I probably should have said at the beginning, they're not done. Like, this is just a synopsis of what's happened so far. We're about to hit 2024. I'm sure, you still have a lot of players on the market. The trade market really hasn't gone. There's still more to do. But I'm going to show, we're going to jump over to Twitter now, and I'm going to show you some stuff on why I don't believe it's going to get better. First, we're going to start with also, please be sure to follow everyone that I show here. I have a couple of guys these are Chris Cotillo, a beat reporter for Mass Live. We have a whole bunch of different people that I'm going to show. Please go follow them. I think they're awesome follows, especially for Red Sox fans, and especially Cotillo, who is, he works for Mass Live. He has direct contacts and stuff. This is something he wrote earlier, and please read the full article. All the stuff he writes is awesome. Basically saying that the last year, the front office had a mandated budget of $225 million. Now, the tax is set at 237, or the first. Now, last year was 233. I think this year's 237. You're the Boston Red Sox. Why are you being cheap? And let me show you another tweet from Cotillo. This was the most concerning thing I've seen so far. He tweeted this a couple days ago as of recording this. I wish there was a better way to phrase it than industry perception. So here we go. Agents who have negotiated this winter have asked me why they're acting like a small market team. Now, this is the Boston Red Sox, man. I mean, baseball is interesting in the fact that there isn't a salary cap. And the Red Sox are one of the most prestigious teams in the league, one of the most historic teams in the league. They have been spending, especially under this regime. When they first got the team in the early 2000s or late 90s, whenever the official sale of the team went through, this is a team that hadn't won a World Series in over 80 years. They went out and spent. They went out and got guys like Manny. Again, I don't know exactly when it happened. I don't know if Manny Ramirez was signing under the Henry regime or before. But anyway, guys like Manny Ramirez, making trades for guys like Curt Schilling. We saw David Price a couple years ago, getting a guy like Chris Sale. Now, if every single move works, no. But you have to make moves. Like, spending in baseball, the winning teams spend. I was doing some research on my own, and hopefully, maybe I'll definitely one day make a video on it, maybe before the season comes out, where over the last 10 years, you don't need to spend to get in the playoffs, but more often than not, teams that win the World Series have bigger payrolls. Because bigger payrolls mean you have better players. Letting a guy like Mookie Betts walk, a guy like Xander Bogaerts walk, because you don't want to pay them, it's disgusting, and it's gross. And it's this mindset right here that we haven't seen from them. I don't get it. Here is a quote from Breslow on his Zoom presser the other day about Yamamoto, basically not saying anything, which I think is more telling than saying anything. Again, if it comes out that they have not pursued or really put out a competitive offer for him, it should outrage everybody. And this is it. And shout out Red Sox stats, because it is fucking pathetic. According to a baseball source, the Red Sox have told at least one free agent target that they need to shed some more payroll before pursuing him as aggressively as they want to. They are operating not at the tax, but way below the tax. This isn't something a team that's valued at $4.5 billion should be doing. It is pathetic. It's fucking pathetic. Thank you, Red Sox stats. And we'll look into what he has to say a little bit better because he's also a great follow. So that was Chris Cotillo getting follow. Follow him, please. Here's Red Sox stats. This is what the Fangraphs WAR projection basically has ranked the Red Sox. They got marginally better batting WAR, worse with pitching WAR. And this is as right now. Again, things were going to happen, I guess, but whatever. This is what the Yankees have done. They've upped their WAR total by over 6. Toronto, up their WAR total. Tampa Bay, with obviously Wander Franco, what's happening with him? That's going to be lower. Baltimore hasn't really done much. But these are now 1, 2, 3, 4 of your division mates in the top 10 of the league projected. These are projections. But there's no urgency. Like, before, if the Yankees made a huge move, or if Toronto, when they were good, made moves, you saw counter moves. That's how it works. And this is who you're playing the majority of your schedule with. If you're getting dog walked by the Yankees or Toronto or Tampa Bay every year, it doesn't matter what you do against everybody else. Like, these are the majority of your games. And this is how you get in the playoffs, by beating these teams. And if you're not going to put a faithful effort into being on their level, like, we're talking about being on the level of the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. What are we doing? This is a good one by Red Sox stats as well. Obviously, Giolito has some good praise in terms of, there's stuff you can work with, and if you can work it out, you'll be good. But, again, basically saying it's incremental. If you take a 2-WAR guy out of the rotation, add a 2.5-WAR guy, how much better are you actually getting? I mean, again, I hope there's more moves coming, but all of this is just pointing that I'm not very hopeful. We're going to move on to Coley Mick. Again, please follow these guys. They're awesome. Works for Underdog Fantasy, just a big Red Sox guy. But let's see what he has to say on the matter. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, a team that, an ownership group that won 4 titles, and everyone hates them. Like, and I don't think we're being too over the top with it either. Here's the last thing from Coley. Feels too optimistic to think the Red Sox are going to get Montgomery, Imanaga, who is another one of those free agents out there, and Hoskins. That would be a solid B+ offseason, and feels unattainable. Again, this is just the president said. When you say you're going to go out a full throttle and you don't do anything, why should we have faith? Come over to Robbie Hyde. He has a YouTube channel, which is awesome. So definitely go check him out if you haven't already. But he's more optimistic, and he's been a little bit of a light, especially in a dark time like this. So let's see what he has to say. He has a nice little thread here, basically going back to the reports that they want to stay under the CBT, obviously, and they basically have it under. And here's a nice little plan. Trading Jansen, getting $16 million off the books, going after Montgomery, maybe even Hernandez, and kind of this is what it could look like if you go out and trade some of the guys. But I like Robbie, but I don't know, sometimes it just feels like it's obviously he's positive, and I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to dunk on him from that, but I think we ate the poison with Heim, and we ate they want to get under the tax. Okay, so you have to make moves to do that. Okay. But I don't think now is the time to do that. I think now is not the time to be giving the ownership group a pass. And I don't think he's doing that here. I'm just saying that with the clear guidelines set for Craig Breslow, this is the best he can do, and this is Robbie trying to map it out. But even this just seems like more work than it has to be. Just pay up a little bit. We're not asking you to have a $500 million payroll. We're asking you to be competitive. And here we looked at this from Red Sox stats. We looked at that a little bit earlier in the video. This is Robbie's kind of rebuttal to that, where Fangraphs favors the Red Sox rotation. I don't love Houck as a starter. I think that he is a great couple inning relief guys. I don't know. I like Crawford better, at least in a starting role. Whitlock, obviously, I think he's going to be a reliever. But I still think that even though the Fangraphs projections are conservative, I don't think that we can go into the season like this. Again, shout out Robbie, always trying to be positive, always trying to look at everything, and I appreciate that. We need this. This is the balance. I'm definitely jumping off the deep end a little bit here. But yeah, this is kind of that rebuttal. We would still need more. And finally, Ballpark Buzz, another guy who I follow, isn't a media member, just a Red Sox fan. He does have his own little Substack, so please go look at that and read that. He has some good stuff here. And there's one tweet I want to highlight from him, and another one of these positive guys. And this was in response to that budget. Seeing this just killed what excitement I had over the last 2 years. Not the same team I grew up watching. Well, that's going to do it for the video here, everybody. What do you think? I mean, am I jumping off the cliff too soon? I don't have faith in this year's Red Sox team. I don't have faith in this ownership to continue to push the needle forward. I grew up in a blessed time. I was born in 1999, and I got to grow up with the Patriots and the Bruins and the Red Sox and the Celtics. I'm also an Alabama football fan. I got to see all of these teams be incredibly good, and I know that I'm blessed, and I know that not every single team and fan base has those opportunities like I did. But you set that precedent, and it's not like you have a new ownership group. It's not like the philosophy has changed. They continue to spew this bullshit that they want to compete, and it just, none of this adds up. So again, please follow me on Twitter. I'm going to put all the links to these guys in the bio as well. Make sure to follow them, read their stuff, watch their podcasts, or their YouTube channels in some cases. Yes, I'm in my doomer phase for the Red Sox. Are you with me? Have a happy new year, everybody. We'll see you in 2024 with hopefully some more of this and hopefully a little more cheerier mood. So again, have a great one. I'm Cody Shelf, Tisbury 33 Games. I'll see you next time.